You guys can tell me you do, but I know it ain't true. I got a hand clap line. It's probably just Tootsie. I'm not trying to browbeat you this morning. I'm not trying to come down your road. I'm not trying to make you upset or angry, but you have to understand that Samson was a great man. And a great man failed. Why? Because he entertained something in his life that he thought he could control, and it took over his life.
Right.
How many of us out here this morning are sitting there entertaining things in our life? And you may be the strongest, most spiritual person in this church. You may shout the aisles every Sunday, but if you entertain it long enough, it's going to take effect on your life.
Right. Yeah.
If you entertain it long enough, it's going to have an effect on your spiritual walk with God.
Right. Come on.
A man that was born to be a deliverer and bring honor to and glory to God had gone from pleasing God to pleasing himself. Satan always wants to take man's side first. The second thing he took to them was his sight. He was so intoxicated and so blinded by her beauty and everything that she had to offer that he couldn't see anything else. When I was a kid, and I'm still kind of bad about this, when I see something I want, I just get it from my dad. If there's something I want, I'm going to go get it. And the bad thing about it is half the time I ain't got the money for it. But if I see something I want, man, I'm just like, man, that's what I want. What about this? It's got one less feature. I don't care. That's the one I want. You've ever been there? You know it is. Car shopping's the worst. You know. You got the man and wife that comes in and it's got one feature she don't like. Well, I want this one. That's out of my budget. But I still want this one. I don't know if I get you finance for that. I still want this one. You got a boat, you got a car, you got anything you can put in for this thing? That's the way I am in life. I want this one. What about that feature? I don't care about the feature. I want this one. It's blue. It's blue. It's got leather interior. It's the one I want. It's the one I'm going for. You can't afford that. It's the same way it is spiritually. Sometimes I want this. I'm so blinded by what this is, by what I want, by what I need, by what I look. I'm so blinded that I want this. And Samson became so blinded and intoxicated by what he wanted that he forgot to fall in line with what God wanted from him. The intoxicated eye can only see the other glass of liquor, but it doesn't see or show you the car wrapped around the pole. Eyes full of lust doesn't show you, it shows you that one night of pleasure, but fails to show you everything that can happen after that.
Right.
When you are blinded by things in your life, it will not show you everything that comes to pass. The prodigal son saw a rip-roaring time. He left his mom, he left his dad, and he went out and he sold his wild oats, and he thought everything was going to be okay, but he ended up broke, laying in a pig pen eating pigs. Satan lets you see things, but doesn't want you to see through spiritual eyes. He'll let you see dollar signs. He'll let you see nice homes. He'll let you see money in the bank. He'll let you see all these vacations and all this kind of stuff, but at what cost?
Yes.
He doesn't want you to make a spiritual decision. He wants you to make a personal decision through unspiritual eyes.
Right.
That could affect you in your life to come. Because Samson loved to dance. And the Philistines knew that Samson loved to be around pleasure. So they found somebody they could dance to. And her name was Delilah. She was great at doing what she did, and she could entice him, and she could get him to do things that he probably thought he never would do. And the whole time she's looking at the Philistines saying, come on. It's the way Satan is. He'll get you to do things that you thought you never would do. And the whole time he's saying, come on, just another step farther. Then I can bind your life. Then I can take the chains and place them on your life. And that liberty and that joy that you once had in Jesus Christ is gone. The whole time, what gets me is this man that was an amazing feature of a man could not see what was happening in his life. He was being set up, and it all started with a little compromise in his life. He was going down to Timnah, which means the place of grapes. God said no wine. What's he doing there? You see, things in your life will always start out so small. Maybe it's a little jewelry here, jewelry there. Maybe it's a little, maybe a drink here, drink there. But it always ends up taking the things that matter more to you. You ask the alcoholic, was it worth it to lose his family? You ask the drug addict, was it worth it to be spending maybe a life term in prison? You ask a mother or a father, was it worth it losing your family? And they will all tell you, no. But it may have started out with just a little bitty thing. And you may be sitting here tonight saying, well, Brother Romain, I can control myself, and I hope you can. I hope that you're more of a man or woman of God than I am, but I can tell you this, that even in my walk with God, that if I let some small things in, I'll begin to wander and waver. And I'm not saying I'm a great man and this huge spiritual giant. I'm not saying that I'm a normal person just like you. But let me tell you that line that you're feeding yourself of, it's only this or it's only that, will only take you so far. But sin's blinds him. As he lay there in Delilah's lap, she asked him 3 times, what is the key to your strength? Now this is the funny part to me, and maybe we'll get some comment here. Guys, and I hope you didn't like all of us. I don't understand him. 3 times. He wakes up once, he's in binds. Wakes up twice, he's been tied up. Wakes up the 3rd time, he's lost his hair. Could he not see what was happening in his life? The little bitty things, the person or the thing that he thought he loved so much that was trying to take advantage of his life and trying to pull him down. He would wake up and the Philistines would be upon him and he'd go right back to sleep and tell him something different. And he would wake up and the Philistines would be upon him until finally one day she took his strength. She took his power. She took all of his might. Let me tell you something this morning, church. You can only play with it for so long. The first time you might wake up and you might be okay. The second time you might wake up and you might be okay. But what about the 3rd time? When you shoot up a little too much and you don't wake up. What about the 3rd time? If you drink another bottle of liquor and you don't make it home and your kids don't have a family. Let me tell you something. Sin will take you farther than you want to go. And it will keep you longer than you want to stay. The wages of sin is death. Spiritual death. Physical death. Why do I preach so passionately about this? Because I can look back at my life and I can say that if not by the grace of God, I wouldn't be standing here today with the opportunity to tell somebody else that you don't have to live your life that way, that you don't have to make the mistakes that I made to come to God. You have a choice every day when you wake up to give your life to God. My life has not always been a bed of roses. My life is not something to pattern your life after. But let me tell you this. If it had not been for me waking up and listening to the voice of God in my life, my life could be drastically different. My wife and my kids wouldn't be here today. More than likely, I wouldn't be sitting on a church pew, not even up here. I wouldn't be sitting on a church pew at all this morning. I'd be somewhere hungover, waiting for something else to come in the mail, or waiting for someone else to pick me up and take me somewhere else. That's the lifestyle I live. And the whole time, I'll just tell you, most of you know it, but I was blinded by what enticed me. And the whole time, I could not see where my life was going. I could not see the destruction that my life was causing other people. Why? Because I was so focused on one thing. And then you wake up one morning and you're lying in a bed And your grandmother's taking care of you. And let you know that everything's going to be okay. Why? The choices you make today will have an effect on your life.
Oh.
When you're young, as a young person, you can't see the effects that may take on your life. When I was young, I couldn't see in the physical realm what education could do for me. I did just enough to get by. Just enough to get a book. But let me tell you, young person, if you got something good going for you, go after it with everything that you got.
Right.
Get an education. Get an education. Get something in your life that's going to help you make it through this life.
Right.
And keep your eyes on Jesus Christ. Last thing but not least, let me finish it up. Sin will grind out your life. Samson, at this point in time in his life, was under a dungeon. Until one day, the fish tried. He had went from this magnificent man that could tear a lion apart with his bare hands, who could rip the gates off of a city and carry them over his head. He had went from this mighty man. He was in a dungeon underneath the very God that he despised. And he was walking around in a circle, grinding meal for his enemies. The power that was once in his life and on his life was taken away with a compromise that he was willing to make. The society that we live in. Let's be transparent and real with you this morning. The society that we live in is full of compromise. The churches that we see today. Listen, I can speak firsthand of this. You ever want to know my wife's story? Come talk to us. We'll tell you. But churches, good churches that love God, it all starts with a little compromise in your life. God, I don't see this to be an issue. And you never once get on your knees to pray and ask God if it's okay.
Right.
If I'm wrong, you come to me after church and you let me know. But God, I don't think this is an issue, God. The problem is you're thinking and not praying. God, I don't see this being a problem. You just don't understand my lifestyle that I live. Why don't you get on your knees and ask God? God, is this okay? God, is what I'm entertaining in my life, am I bringing Delilah into my life? God, is what I'm entertaining with my walk with God, is it going to do me harm or is it going to do me good? And the society that we live in every day is saying, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. And the people that are saying okay are never once bowing on their knees to ask God if it's okay.
Right.
You don't need this. You don't need that. You don't need to do that. You don't need to worry about not going there. You don't need to dress this way. You don't need to talk this way. You don't need to live this lifestyle. And they're making their own decisions, never once asking God.
Right.
Is it okay? God, show me. Show me, God. Guide me. Lead me, God.
Hallelujah.
I've seen plenty of good people dance with Delilah in their life. I had a pastor, and I'm finishing up. I had a pastor that I love dearly. He's a cool dude. 30 years old. Pastoring a thriving church of 400 to 500. I'm just going to tell you my story.